Hi, Daria.
안녕하세요.
안녕하세요. We are so happy to introduce your work to Korean readers for the first time. Wow, could you share a short greeting with Korean readers while you're looking at the camera?
Sure. Hi, I'm Daria Lavelle. I'm the author of Aftertaste. I'm so excited that it's coming to Korean readers. I can't wait for you to discover this story.
It's September.
September! Oh, that's amazing. That's even sooner than I thought.
So how did you feel when you first heard the news about the Korean publication?
I was honestly overjoyed. I love Korean culture. I love Korean books and Korean music and Korean films, and I'm really excited to get to be part of that conversation with Aftertaste.
So could you briefly introduce your book to Korean readers and describe the book in like 5 keywords?
So Aftertaste is about ghosts, about food, about love, about memory, and about New York City.
Can you tell us a little bit of the synopsis, like a little bit?
Sure. Aftertaste is the story of a chef named Constantine who discovers that his food can bring spirits back from the afterlife for a last meal with the people they loved. And he decides to open a New York City restaurant that serves closure. Along the way, he falls in love with a psychic named Maura, who has her own secret connection to the afterlife. And he discovers that what he's been doing is not necessarily good for all of the spirits involved. I think when I started this novel, I was thinking less about hunger and more about what it feels like to just want and desire. And there's so many ways to be hungry. Of course, you can be hungry for food, but you can also be hungry for love, for affection, for fulfillment, for satisfaction. And so I started to think about what my main character, Constantine, would be hungry for, what the characters around him would be hungry for. And as I started to think about this ability to reunite people from the dead and from the living worlds, it occurred to me that there would be great consequences to that. And in conversation with the idea of food and fulfillment, the thing that made the most sense as a consequence was a kind of hunger. And so as I researched, I explored all of these different traditions from around the world where living people will leave food for their ancestors. They'll use food as a way to reconnect with people. And it really does exist around the world. It's fascinating as an idea. And I latched onto it thinking about hunger being sort of the ultimate kind of torture for a spirit and what that would feel like. And so when I started to put together the consequences for all of Constantine's actions in the book and trying to do something good without fully understanding what he was engaging with, it felt like hungry spirits were the ultimate way both to torture people in the afterlife and to have something that Kostya really has to grapple with and come to terms with, and he has to fix it because it's that bad. I began with the chef. The whole story started with this image that I had in my mind, almost like a movie. It was Constantine standing in his kitchen in New York City, and he's plating this dish of food, and he's really meticulous about it, even though he doesn't look like anyone who's ever cooked a meal in his entire life. And he sets it on the table, and this glittering ghost comes through the wall to eat the meal. And that was all I had. That was the whole kernel of the idea. But immediately I knew something about this guy's food was compelling enough to bring back spirits. And so that was a really interesting idea in my mind. And it just clicked. It felt right because a ghost is a kind of memory and food is so closely tied to memory. And so making those connections between those two things felt really synergistic. So I think they both came at the same time. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I think that you can always taste when someone doesn't care, and vice versa. You can always taste when someone really does care about what they're cooking and how they're putting their food in front of you. I think food is such a reflection of who we are as people and how we feel and where we come from that I think it's almost inextricably linked. I think that I'm a person who loves food just independently of this book. And I think that's why this idea appealed to me so much, because I knew that I could be obsessed about food and write about it for the years that it would take to finish this novel. So I didn't find it hard to write the taste and the flavors. It was really exciting to me. I did find it tricky to come up with the right dish to represent the right emotion for each character, because whenever Kostya brings the spirit back, the food that connects them to the person that's in the living world is something that's really closely tied to a memory that they shared together. And so trying to think about what kind of food expresses what kind of memory and how a food can kind of elicit the flavor of an emotion. Like, can a food be sad? Can a food be happy? Can a food be nostalgic? And finding the right pairings for that, and then making it make sense in the context of who these people were and their relationship. That was a really fun challenge. I think guilt was a hard one, and that I don't want to give it away in case it's a spoiler, so the marketing team can feel free to cut. But I think guilt was a hard one because I didn't want to make it so obvious. So the guilt emotion came across in the Reese's peanut butter cup with Maura and her sister, and all of the guilt that Maura feels around their last interaction. And I didn't want to make it something obvious, like something that tastes bad, but I did want to make it something that, you know, when you have a Reese's peanut butter cup, you eat it and you want to eat more, and you keep continuing to taste them, and you kind of elicit this craving. And I think guilt can be that way too, that it eats away at you, and it's this constant thing, but it's like too sweet and it's too much and it's overwhelming. And so that one was one that I tried and thought about a lot of different foods and what they could be before I settled on that one. I think if I could bring back anyone for a last meal and a last conversation, it would be my grandmother. And interestingly, I think her love of food really prompted my love of food. We have this entire book written in her handwriting in Cyrillic that I cannot read because I can't read her script. But it has all of her recipes. And so I've tasked my mom with transcribing them so that I can have them and make them. I think food is so universal, but also so specific. And I think there are certain things that you experience, especially around food as an immigrant, that when you say them to another immigrant, you just connect on a different level. Like, I think especially if you're a child and you emigrated to a new place, and as a kid, you're eating the food from your homeland in a new place, and you're experiencing the uneasy feeling of sharing that or doing that in front of other people. There's a certain kind of unifying experience that comes with that. I think that, you know, I am a Ukrainian immigrant, but I can talk to another immigrant from any background and say, did you ever have that experience where you're eating like whatever in front of someone else who just grew up here and they're like looking at you like you have 7 heads? So I think there's all of these universals about what it feels like to eat and to be othered by that food. But there's also all of these universals about what it feels like to have food as a connection point, to sort of go to a place all of a sudden where everyone is eating that food. I remember the first time I ever went to a Ukrainian restaurant in the United States. It was a restaurant called Veselka, which is in New York City. And I looked around and it was so strange to me that I think I was the only Ukrainian person there, but everyone was really enjoying the food. And I was like, so many years of my life I spent being kind of ashamed or closed off about the food that we ate at home because it wasn't American enough. And here are all of these American people eating it. So I think you have these really beautiful moments. But I think what's really special about food as an immigrant is this ability to connect to your home country wherever you are, and to bring back those flavors and bring back, you know, generations of tradition of making certain foods a certain way. It's really special.
Korean people, I mean Korean Americans, like they say the same thing like you just did. Like they, you know, couldn't pack kimchi to school because it smells.
You were the stinky lunchbox kid. Yeah, every immigrant kid grew up with that experience.
Now, like after K-pop Demon Hunters, do you know that one?
Obsessed.
Like everybody is making kimbap and like eating it. Like that's
amazing.
like something whole, like it's a new word now. So,
I will say I feel like from the time when I was a child to say my own children, the world has become much smaller, especially around food in a good way. I think kids are much more open to trying something new and different. I think it's just much more accessible. And I think that's wonderful because I think experiencing food from a different culture is kind of the first step to experiencing that culture.
Yes.
And it's this really beautiful way in. My aftertaste, I think, there's not a restaurant in New York. There's one very specific restaurant. It is the Jules Verne restaurant, which is on the Eiffel Tower in Paris. If you were to go to that restaurant in 2012, you could order this dish off the menu that was called the chocolate cog. That was like shaped like a cog, like the hardware on the Eiffel Tower. And it was chocolate and mousse and ganache. And that was the dessert that my husband and I had right before he proposed to me. So we ate that, and then he took me out onto this balcony, and then he asked me to marry him, and then it started to rain. It was beautiful and perfect. And so that dish in the rain would be my aftertaste.
Wow.
Yeah, I think it's not autobiographical. As much as I've tried, I cannot bring ghosts back with my food. But I think so much of his experience growing up as an immigrant is based on my real experience growing up as an immigrant. And sort of even the metaphor of being able to bring ghosts back with food, I think he grew up much like I did as a person who had a foot in two worlds and was never really sure where they belonged. Like, were you American enough? Were you Ukrainian enough? How do you navigate that? And food was this giveaway for him as a child that he didn't belong. And then as he gets older, food also becomes this way for him to have a foot in two worlds, in the world of the living and the world of the dead. And so he experiences this sort of pull, and it's only when he realizes that he has the ability to bridge those gaps and to participate in all the worlds the way that he wants to, that he kind of grows into himself and discovers his power. And I think I found that through writing. So I think writing is my clairgustance. It's my magic. It's my way of participating in all the worlds that I want to be part of. So I think in that sense, there's a lot of me in him. I know I shouldn't. Everyone tells authors they shouldn't read reviews, but I do. I think reviews are really meaningful to me, especially when people share, as a lot of people have been, their own experiences with the book. And I've had so many readers reach out to me to say how the book connected them to somebody that they lost, or reminded them of someone they loved and they had a deep relationship with around food. And I think that's kind of the beauty of the book. Like, it's so food is so universal, but it's also so personal. And I think as people read, they have all of these ideas that come up in their head to answer the question, like, what if you could have one last meal with someone you lost? What would that meal be? What would bring them back? You know, what's the memory that ties you two together around food? That's been really beautiful to get to hear. I would love for Korean readers to take this book with them, to use it as a context to think about their own relationships with food, with the people that they've lost. I think that there's already so many beautiful traditions in Korean culture around food and spirits, and I think that having Aftertaste be part of that conversation, and to have it be a way to think about, you know, preserving some of the recipes in your family and making those connections while people are still with you, I think would be really incredible to hear about.
Okay, so there are some, I'm sorry I didn't, have a proper packet.
Oh my gosh, please.
Okay.
That's so nice. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Oh my God, that's so beautiful.
Okay. This is cut pan.
That's so cool.
So as you have watched K-pop Demon Hunter.
I'm very aware.
Yes.
Thank you so much. That's so beautiful.
And I do hope you like that one too.
I'm sure I will. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Can use it.
That's so beautiful. I love them. Thank you. They're perfect and I can't wait to use them.
I hope you can
And
enjoy
they're
it. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's beautiful. Thank you so much.